2, 1. Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. I'm Casey Porter, joined by Chase Witwiska. As we are each and every week, we join together for Dodgers Dogs, and I believe this is like episode 15, so we appreciate everybody for joining in. We already have a very good crowd on hand. I hope this is very interactive with spring training starting, Chase. There's, you smell that new grass in the air. They cut the grass. There's songs after it. It's an awesome time of year, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. It's in my opinion, it's one of the most exciting because you get to see a lot of young guys get opportunities. You get to see you get to see those big time players, play with those rookies, play with those guys that are maybe on the verge of being with the big club, maybe not. I think it's cool how you see them interact. It's obviously cool to see them perform, get along, just have each other's back. It's awesome.
Yep. So what happens is the club puts out a 26-man roster, which are the guys that are active to play during games. But then they have a 40-man roster, which means anybody on a 40-man roster is eligible to go to the 26-man roster. That starts your clock. And so we talked about the guys that were added, Andy Pajes and Johnny DeLuca, and those guys were added to the 40-man to protect them from the Rule 5 draft. So let's talk about some of the guys that aren't on the 40-man, but then we're invited to the big league spring training camp. Did I explain that properly? So there's going to be like 35 to 40 guys that aren't on the 40-man that are still going to be at the major league camp. Here's the names. Okay, a lot of pitchers: Matt Andriese, Dylan Covey, Tyler Sear, Robbie Erlin, Brian Hudson, James Jones, Landonknack. There's a big name, one of the big prospects from the future from East Tennessee State, trying to overcome injury. Adam Kalorick, major league experience there. Check this out. Bobbymiller and Gavin Stone, you just kind of assume, you think they're on the 40-man. Neither one of them are. So they are actually considered non-roster invitees. Nick Nastrini, Jake Reed, he just keeps on keeping on with the Dodgers. He got about 16 innings last year at the major league level. Big year for 6'6" Nick Robertson out of James Madison. He's a non-roster invitee. Taylor Scott, I mentioned Gavinstone. I know you like these two guys, Wander Suero, Jordan Yamamoto, two major league guys with a big basket of pitch mix. Yamamoto had as many as 6 pitches in the past. The Dodgers can kind of put them in the lab, figure out which pitches they want to hone in on and try to master that craft. Catchers: Hunter Fiducia, David Freitas, Patrick Mazeka, Jahmai Jones, an infielder. Devin Mann is the other infielder. And outfielders, my man Drew Avens, who won our All Grit contest. I love that. He was voted by his teammates as the grittiest player. Dodgers minor league system: Yusniel Diaz, Steven Duggar, Jason Hayward, Ryanward, who we're actually going to feature tonight. He is going to be our feature, so we're going to absolutely break him down. I love this young man, wonderful young hitter, left-handed hitter out of Massachusetts and Bryant. Luke Williams, Bradley Zimmer. I'm out of breath, so take that away, Chase.
You said them all three back to back. Nastrini, Stone, and Miller. Those are very, very surprising.
You went straight to the pitching, didn't you?
I had to. Man, those are the names that stuck out to me. I mean, if you've watched the show before, Bobby Miller's my guy. Big fan of Gavin Stone. Nick Nastrini, I mean, phenomenal player. Those three guys, man, I know they're all three pitchers, and I might be a little biased, but man, those are some big time arms.
Okay, let me eliminate 2 words: might and little. You are biased towards pitchers, and that's a good thing, man. Hey, pitching wins ball games. Good evening, Troy. Thank you so much for joining. We hope that you join. It's either going to be Mondays and Wednesdays. I know that Wednesdays are probably easier for you because that's the day that you don't have games. So we're probably going to move this Dodgers Dogs things to Wednesdays. Mondays would be easier during the season because that's the day that the minor leaguers have off. So it's kind of up in the air. Just going to have to follow along. But Troy, go Dodgers. No doubt about that. Thank you so much for joining. Solbro, welcome back. Thank you so much from very snowy Portland. Okay, fantastic. Well, it's about 75 degrees here in Oklahoma. So if you like snow, I guess.
It'll be 40 on Friday, so don't worry about it.
Yep. Okay, Roy, welcome back. Go Dodgers. Vegas in the house. Fantastic. Austin Brubaker, thank you for joining again. Good evening to you. Enjoying the show from an ice storm in the Midwest. Oh, my gosh. That first month or two, especially for those international players that are from like Puerto Rico and Venezuela and places like that, then they go to Midland, Michigan. that's a pretty big culture shock for them. So welcome to all you. So Chase, I'm going to let you take away with that. And Rachel just joined in. Big fan, collector of Gavinstone. We all love Gavinstone here.
Yeah, man. Man, to bounce off the weather, we kind of get you here in Oklahoma. We have the luxury of days like today where it's just, I mean, absolutely beautiful. You want to do everything outside, but then 2 days later, turn around and you're like, freaking right in the middle of smack dab winter. Real cold, real windy. The wind's always blowing here. I will say that. Wind's always blowing. But man, I'm excited to get into the show. I'm excited to talk about my guy.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of your pictures on this, and before we do that, I want to talk about some of the guys who weren't invited that we had fan requests for. I sent out a message today. Hey, who are some of the guys you want to hear about on the show tonight? Braden Fisher, Chris Campos, Taylor Young, my man, Taylor Young. I love that guy. Cody Hosey, who I think is going to have a big year if he can stay healthy. Dalton Rushing. Okay, so let's start at the top. Braden Fisher, big old tall lanky guy who came straight out of high school from League City, Texas. Very, very talented. I talked to his dad today. His dad and mom are going to spring training next week, and they're going to see him pitch. So that is really cool. Braden Fisher, okay, had a great year in 2022. He finished. He was doing very well, then he got injured at the end. So Braden, the key to him is going to be, can we get a runway of health that allows him to show off how good he is? So big spring training for him. ERA was just, check this out, Chase, 2.68. In August, his whip was 1.24, so very, very low in August before he got hurt. He hadn't allowed a run in his last 6 outings. He has the big, big, big breaking ball. I know you love that, Chase, because you love that downward 12-6. And then he has a heavy sinking type ball that just kind of sinks away from the barrel. So I know you love those type of pitchers.
Yeah, man. To go off the sinker, it seems like everybody's starting to throw it. It's a really, really effective pitch that doesn't put any stress on your arm. It's all about grip. There's no pronation. There's no nothing. You simply just throw it. You get the sinking action, and there's a lot of guys that do it really, really well. Trying to teach my brother one right now to add another pitch to the repertoire. Yeah. But man, I really like
UCA, man, under Harlan.
Like I said,
you're repping Bethany tonight, by the way. That's where you went to high school, and that's where your brother's at right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to rep the hometown sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
But man, I really like that 12-6 curveball too. Just changing eye levels in the middle of a pitch is a really, really hard thing to adjust to as a hitter.
Good point. I never thought of it that way. It's you think of changing eye levels, fastball up, but then it's changing eye levels during the pitch. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, man. It seems like it's a really hard pitch to throw and a really hard pitch to learn. But I think once you master that, if you look at guys that are like Dodgers, like Kershaw, man, I think he made his money off that pitch. Everybody talks about how good that 12-6 curveball is, and you really are. You're changing eye levels. You're starting at, if you're probably finishing middle, which most cases is not. But you're probably starting it at their eyes, and they're finishing around maybe their lower chest, their lower letters. So changing the eye level in the middle of a pitch, I think, is what makes that pitch so effective.
The thing that outdated that pitch is that because it starts, way up here, you can't tunnel anything off of it. So it doesn't look the same as any other pitch coming out of the hand, which is why a lot of the Dodgers pitchers have gone to the smaller breaking ball, the slider, so they can start at that same tunnel and get the same action as the fastball. But I'm with you. I love that 12-6 because I think it's easier to dump in for a strike. Just kind of, hey, maybe a 3-2, just a dump in pitch, a get me over pitch, maybe just a get ahead in the count type pitch. And then, just vertical drop to any pitch, I think it's very difficult. So, hey, Braden Fisher, also, I know you love this. He does his best work, Chase, when it matters the most. I can tell you that. There were a couple times, where the games were on the line, the Loons were in that big comeback where they caught Dayton, and he would have like a runner on third with the game on the line and nobody out. And man, he'd just go to flipping that curveball and throwing that four seam and strike guys out. So he does his best work with the game on the line.
Yeah, man, and I think that goes towards a pitching mentality. That's the definition of a pitching mentality. You're never rattled, no emotion, and it's a lot easier said than done. Speaking from experience, it's easy to get a little frustrated, and when the moment's big and you realize hey, if I don't make this pitch or if I mess up or miss a spot, I have a chance to lose this the game. When you're able to remain calm and just really embrace that moment, man, that's why I love pitching so much. That's why I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pressure. But man, when guys are able to do that, it's big time. It really is. You can depend on that guy to throw you a strike to get you an out. It's a big thing to have in your lineup.
I know we talked back and forth a couple of times about Braden and some of his big time performances down the stretch, and you were super impressed with his mentality. The ability to pitch with emotions, but not be emotional. I know you were very impressed about that part of his personality.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a lot easier said than done. It's easy to, if you look at Bobby Miller, that guy gets really, really, really excited, but he also gets really mad.
Intense, yes.
Right, rightfully so. I get it. I really do. And I had to have a come to Jesus moment with my coach one time. He came out to me. I was livid, man. I'm not getting strikes called, and then the ones that are right down the middle when I'm having to place them are getting hit. I'm like, I got nothing to do. He comes out to me and he goes, "Dude, you got to stop caring." And I was like, "That's the dumbest thing I ever heard." But once I learned to do that, it made the game a lot easier.
Yeah. Did you play for Jim?
Drummond?
Was he your head coach? Drummond?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Yeah, he was awesome. Jim Drummond actually is very, very good friends, and he actually coached Andrew Heaney at PCO, and so there's a big connection there. Okay, Chris Campos, let's go to our next guy. He came to the Dodgers from St. Mary's and was actually a shortstop, and I know we've talked about this and him specifically. You love that versatility because, it's not necessarily a multi-sport athlete like we've talked about many different times, but it is a multi-position type situation to where he was an athlete first and now being turned into a pitcher, and I know you love that athletic ability.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it makes me mad because I'm a pitcher. When people say pitchers aren't athletes, that's the biggest bunch of bull crap that I ever heard. It's a hard thing to do. It really is. I mean, there's plays that are made by pitchers that aren't going to be made by anything else, and people can come at me in the comments if they want to, and I'll be more than happy to fight with you about it. But man, pitchers are athletes. Don't make that mistake. And I love seeing guys being able to transition into pitchers because I think it says a lot about not only their mentality, but just the kind of baseball player that they are and the confidence that you have to have in yourself as a pitcher. Man, it says a lot about you.
Yep, no doubt about it. And he came from St. Mary's, which Dodgers fans ought to love. Kind of like Louisville has produced Will Smith, Dalton Rushing, Devin Mann. Hey, St. Mary's has been a factory for the Dodgers too. Tony Gonsolin, he was a St. Mary's grad, St. Mary's Gale. I don't know if he actually graduated, but a St. Mary's alum. Let's put it to you that way. Okay, Michael Hobbs, who in my opinion was the steal of the 2021 draft, the all-time saves leader at St. Mary's, and now Chris Campos. Here he comes from St. Mary's as well. So that Gales program, I know you're very, very familiar with that program, a very good program on the West Coast and in California that just absolutely has turned into a pitching factory. So Chris Campos, there's another guy that, another talented young pitcher, great athlete. So the next guy, okay, get some popcorn, sit down, get comfortable. I love this dude, man. T.Y., all-time hits leader at Louisiana Tech. He got married at the Love Shack. If you talk to anybody from Louisiana Tech, they just love this guy to death. T.Y. Taylor Young. What an awesome young player, man. You see him, he's like 5'7", probably with spikes on, and not one of his skills sticks out. He's not going to go to the showcase tournaments and hit 500-foot. Now he can hit home runs, okay, but he's not going to stand out in those types of ways. Where he's going to stand out, his coaches from the time he can remember, Chase, have always called him a dirtbag. And a dirtbag, if you get called a dirtbag as a baseball player by your coaches, that's the biggest compliment you can get, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It says a lot about your character, and it says a lot about how you play the game. He's a little bit different. He's a different Dodger, if you will. The Dodgers kind of have that typical, flashy, really
pretty,
pretty phenomenal,
perfect size.
Yeah, I mean, they look really good, and they make a lot of flashy plays. And he's kind of a guy that's just really, really fundamental. Really, I mean, like you said, he's just a dirtbag. He does everything right. He doesn't do anything that's like, eye popping, if you will. But I mean, goodness gracious, man, the guy can play.
I will put his baseball IQ up against anybody in the game at any level. I will put his toughness. I will put his grit. And I'll tell you what, the thing that frustrates me when I say that is people think, well, you're saying that because they're not very talented. All-time hits leader in Louisiana Tech history, and that's a team that in, 2021, they hosted a regional there at the Love Shack. And if you remember, that's when that NC State team got hot and scored like 7 million runs over that weekend there. And actually, we're probably going to win the national title till the COVID thing canceled their season. So this kid, when we say gritty, I hate that. When you call him a dirtbag, people automatically think, just kind of a scrappy little guy, not necessarily real talented. No, that's not what we mean. Extremely talented, all-time hits leader. Probably will play quite a bit of shortstop next year, starting at Rancho, I would assume. Second base as well. So Taylor Young, love that young man. The dirtbag out of Louisiana Tech, the Bulldog. Let's go to our next guy, former first-round draft pick Cody Hosey. And Cody Hosey, okay, check this out, Chase. Elite defense, best defender at third base of anybody in the organization. Period. End of discussion. He is elite defensively. That can't be questioned. The question with him is, can he stay healthy? Okay, the offensive numbers haven't looked good because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He had the oblique injury in 2021, and when he came back from that, just couldn't get anything going. If you've ever been around anybody or had an oblique injury yourself, you know that when you're trying to hit 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, you can't do it with an oblique injury. I see you smiling there, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Okay, to kind of go to my point, he was hitting 281 on July 1st. His OPS was 876. That's when he got hurt. And then he never recovered from that. So he was well on his way to being close to a 300 hitter with an OPS somewhere in the mid-8s. He was hitting home runs. He was getting big hits, playing elite defense, turning into the first-round draft pick we all thought he would be. Boom, gets hurt again just like he did in 2021. Frustrating. Kind of like landonknack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sucks to say it, but that's baseball for you, man. That's how it works.
It is.
It's so frustrating, but that's why you love the game, just because it's so irritating and so inconsistent, but you like it that much that, I mean, you just stick with it. And when I say that's baseball, I mean, you feel like you're finally starting to, figure it out. You're finally starting to get after it. You're finally starting to do what you can do. And what the Dodgers thought, hey, this guy, I mean, this is what he's going to do. He's finally on his way to that. And then sure enough, he hurts himself, and it sucks. It sucks. Been there, done that, and but I wouldn't change it for the world. That's for sure.
Yep. Just had another request. Alec Gamboa, one of those 3 sports stars. He was an all-state wrestler, awesome running back, kind of that H-back guy in football, and then obviously a great pitcher. Went to Fresno State out of Madera High School, and then ended up transferring to Fresno Community College. Chase, and at Fresno Community College, guess who he played with?
Who's that?
He played with Funky. Christian
Did he
Funk.
really?
Yeah, he sure did. They're good friends to this day. Both played at Fresno Community College. And this is the year, he'll tell you, this is a big year for him. This is the rubber's going to meet the road for Alec Gamboa, left-hander. I call him the artist because when he's on, he's painting that corner. And so, a young man who was in AA last year, going to spend some time in AAA, one of the toughest young men, very good mix to him. So going to be a big year for Alec Gamboa. Some other guys that are going to be, here's some guys that are going to be at the big league camp. Drew Avens, 53-game hit streak. He won the all-grit team. I've talked about him, just simply one hell of a player. Do you want to add any more comments about him, Chase?
I mean, just the fact that he was named, number 1 on the all-grit team, and if that doesn't fire you up, and if that's not, I think that's the kind of guy that you want every guy to be in your organization, just a guy that not only the organization thinks highly of, but his teammates. And obviously they respect the way that he plays. They respect the way that he carries himself. And if they didn't, he wouldn't have gotten that award. God, just an awesome dude.
Yeah, I like the Yasiel Puig's comment on Braden Fisher. He was from the 2018 draft, but like I said, came out of high school from League City, so he's still only 22 years old. And he's, like Austin Brubaker said, Fisher and just his whole entire family, just fantastic people, awesome people. So, okay. So, hey, what do you take of the of the Jason Hayward thing? You know, they're saying, hey, you may have unlocked his swing and this and that. You know, what do you think?
Man, okay, so
Am I putting you on the spot too much there?
No, I've actually been thinking about it quite a bit,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. When I saw that the Dodgers had signed Jason Hayward, I was excited. I was really excited, and I know he's a little bit older, but seeing the way that he's performed in the past, I mean, with the Cubs, yeah, I mean, he was cold that last year. Was he hurt?
I honestly couldn't tell you, man. I don't think so. Somebody in the live crowd could probably know better than I would. I'm not honestly not an aficionado on Jason Hayward to begin with, to be honest with you. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean,
Actually.
when I saw that they signed him, I was a little confused at first because I was like, why do they need another outfielder? Why? You know, but at the same time, he's a veteran, and he has proved himself in the past to be a really, really good baseball player at the highest level. So I think, you know, I think there may be something there that may surprise a lot of people. You know, I don't want to say one way or another just because you know, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to I don't want to get my hopes up either. But man, I think there's something there.
Yep. Hey, let's get to the Ryanward feature. We'll get to some more of the guys that are non-roster invitees when we get done with this, but I want to make sure and get to the actual feature. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my virtual camera here, and then I'm going to cut it on over, and we're going to get after it. There it is. Okay, Ryanward. You can see it there, Chase, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Here's Rhino, one of my favorite young hitters in the organization. Ryanward, 255 this year. Okay, his average was a lot better than that until he got injured at the end of the season. I'll get to some of that here in a minute. 805 OPS, 28 home runs. He only struck out one time his senior year in high school. He was the only Bryant Bulldog in college to hit over 400, and then the next year after that, he hit almost 400 again. So you know the average there. Once he came to the Dodgers, he was what's called a very east and west type hitter, meaning his barrel came through the zone very flat, which meant he could cover the inside and outside part of the plate, but he had a hard time covering anything up and certainly down and in. So the Dodgers made him more of a north-south type plane to his bat path, and that's helped him access the zone and get the ball in the air a little bit more. As a matter of fact, his fly ball to ground ball ratio was 1-to-1, which meaning for every ground ball he hit one fly ball as well. And that's a good thing because his fly ball to home run rate is in the excellent category. It is over 20%, which is in the elite category for a professional hitter. So when you're talking about a guy that's hitting an equal amount of fly balls as he does to ground balls, and his fly ball to ground ball ratio is elite, and he's shown the ability in the past to hit for average and not strike out, it has the make and hit his oppo and opposite and center field percentages are identical at like 23%. The makings of a guy that could be an elite hitter at the professional level.
Yeah, I love his swing. It's and I'm more of a flat through the zone guy, which is a little bit different than kind of what most people think now in terms of hitting. But man, it also, if you look at him, that sucker hadn't missed a leg day ever. That's a big guy. He's strong. He's really strong. I mean, I think that on this video alone, we've already seen 3 oppo home runs. That's a hard thing to do, especially with a wood bat. I mean, he's strong. Another dirtbag guy, you know, just gets after it.
I think he was voted number 3 on the grit. Outman was number 2, and I think Ward was number 3 on the all grit team.
Okay. See, so that goes to show you what his teammates think about him too. But I really, really like his swing. I like his approach. He's not afraid to take the ball the other way. You know, I think that he's going to be a guy that's really hard to defend because you really don't know where he's going to hit it. He's more of a guy that's just, you know, I'm going to hit it where it's pitched. If it's pitched outside, I'm going to take it off. But if it's pitched inside, I'm going to pull it. And if I get a middle, I'll take it right up the middle, you know? So it's, he's a hard guy to defend, and he always seems to find a barrel.
He does. By the way, Jason Hayward, thank you, Austin, for this information. Jason Hayward suffered a knee injury in June and missed the second half of last year. Okay. So thank you for that information. That answers your question. about Jason Hayward's injury. All right, check this out about Ryanward, okay? He had his best week of the year on August 2nd, okay? I mean, and I got a chance to talk to him about a month and a half ago, and the way that he put it was, I felt like I was better than the pitcher every time I went to the plate. And, okay, so on August 2nd, he hit home run number 25, all right? That led the entire organization at every level, major leagues, minor leagues, every level, and it led all of Double-A in home runs, okay? And like I said, he was coming off his best week of the year. Then he got injured. I think he hit like 3 more home runs the entire year. So, man, his average was 255, but when he got injured, it was all rocking and rolling. It's too bad that, again, that's part of baseball. That's how it goes. But, hey, if he doesn't get injured, you're looking at a guy that hit 280, 285 with 32, 33, 34 home runs and OPS over 900. That was the track he was on, and probably leading the entire organization in home runs. That's the type of hitter that he was before he got injured.
Yeah, I think that if he doesn't get injured, I think he's in AAA by the end of the year. I think that he's with Oklahoma City. I think that it may be a totally different outcome for him in terms of spring training too. With the way that he's just mashing the baseball, you're always told if you can hit, you can play. I mean, that goes for any level. If you can hit, you're going to play. And whether that's filling a DH spot or playing your secondary position or primary, wherever they can get you in the lineup, they're going to get you there, because hitting the baseball is really, really hard. And when you're finding success at it, they're going to find a way to put you in. But man, yeah, like I said, I think if he doesn't get hurt, he's in AAA in Oklahoma City 100%.
Okay, so his independent strength numbers, meaning, okay, like for instance, let's say you have 5 at bats and you hit, 1 double, your independent strength there would be 1 for 5, right? 200. Okay, the average, it's called ISO. The average ISO for a professional hitter, league average, the major league level is 140. His ISO is 200 plus. Okay, so that tells you when he gets hits, he drives the ball, right? Okay, he gets extra base hits. So he is considered statistically the year that he had last year in the premium slugger category. Combine that again with the past history of his high batting averages, low strikeout rates. Now, I know his strikeout rate last year was 22.9%, which is higher than he probably would like it to be. He would like his average to be a little bit higher. But, boy, he has shown, like I said, to be a premier slugger with his ISO, and then also in the past to be able to hit for average and low strikeouts.
Yeah, and we just saw it a second ago. Don't count his defense out either.
Yeah.
Man, he can play. He can play on both sides of the ball. He's a rare find, in my opinion. He's a guy. I mean, look at that right there. That's really impressive, and it doesn't seem like he has any kind of fear when he's heading towards the fence, which is another thing. It's like, what is this guy? What is his mentality?
Well, he grew up in Milb, Massachusetts, okay, which is halfway between Springfield and Boston, but he graduated, Chase, you'll love this, being from Oklahoma, with less than 100 kids in his graduating class. So you see those small town types of values in him, don't you?
That makes a whole lot of sense now that you said that, because, man, the small town guys, I mean, here, let's just, here in Oklahoma, you got Silo, you got Dale, you got some of those really, really small schools that produce incredible baseball players. And just, you can tell that, they're blue collar guys. They get to work. They don't care how they get their work in, but they get it in. And man, they're as tough as nails.
Check this out. In his off season, he would wake up at 4:00 in the morning and go do his workout with his dad. Okay. Then he would go work 8 hours. And then after that 8-hour workday, then he would do all of his baseball activities after that. Go home, go to bed, wake up and do it again the next day.
That's your typical small town guy. Even here in Oklahoma, that's your typical small town guy, man. Just a guy that works his tail off.
Yep. Okay, so the final number is 255 average OPS, 805, 28 home runs. But again, before he got injured on August 2nd, he hit home run number 25. At that time, he led the entire organization and all of Double-A, and he was coming off of his best week of the year. This is a young man that, in my opinion, he's kind of gone up with Andy Pages, and they're both corner outfielders. I think in some ways he's been overshadowed by Andy Pages. Again, Andy Pages got put on the 40-man. Andy is very good. I don't mean that to be negative towards anything, but I do think that the Andy Pages situation and his talent and the buzz around him has kind of kept Ryan Ward under the radar. Would you agree with that?
I would, and I think, going back to it, I think that has something to do with his injury. I think that I don't really have a doubt that he would have been in Oklahoma City had he not gotten hurt.
Yeah. It would. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say without a doubt. I mean, they were pretty loaded. I mean, if you looked at the outfielders from last year, then you have Pages, and then James Outman was still in Double-A in July. So there were quite a few outfielders. But hey, any final thoughts, Chase, on ISO is great measure for power? Really good point there. High average, solid control of strike zone from Austin Brubaker. Okay, great control of strike zone, great power. That everyday consistency he brings are big reasons why he's been so successful. Great thoughts. Any final thoughts before we get back to some of the guys, the non-roster invitee guys? We got about 8 minutes left here.
Yeah, man, just a really, really high quality baseball player. On the offensive side, he can drive the ball. He likes to find gaps, but he also likes to hit the ball out with a solid level swing. And then on defense, it doesn't seem like there's any kind of fear there when he's heading towards the wall, when he's going to lay out for a ball. I don't think there's any hesitation there. I think that he's just there to, he's going to get the job done.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, so let's go over the non-roster invitees again. Matt Andrisi, Dylan Covey, Tyler Sear, Robbie Erlin, Brian Hudson, James Jones, who throws about 1,000 miles an hour, Landonknack, Adam Caloric, Bobby Miller, Nick Nastrini, Jake Reed, Nick Robertson, Taylor Scott, Gavin Stone, Wander Suero, Jordan Yamamoto. Dive in.
That's a whole lot of names, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to go straight to Gavin Stone. We went over a video of him not too long ago. I think he was in one of our features. A high quality changeup. I love that changeup. And I think that a good thrown changeup is the hardest pitch to hit in baseball, especially, it comes maybe 10 miles an hour slower, but everything looks like a fastball. You get a little bit of movement, depending on how you throw it. Most of the time you get a little bit of sink, you get a little bit of run. It's a really, really good pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And watching him throw it it's really impressive. It's a guy that you want to, if you're coaching, that's somebody that you want to look at to duplicate and say, hey, watch video over this guy, see how he throws it. This is what I want it to look like.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cover Bobby Miller. I think we all know the 102, the 4 pitches. We all know that he can bully the strike zone. What I want to point out, like guys like Austin Brubaker and Solbro and all these guys and Roy, that very advanced baseball guys. Okay, watch the glove side. Okay, when he is controlling the glove side, he's good. He gets outs. Okay, when he's commanding the glove side, that's whenever no human being on earth can hit him. Where he gets in trouble is he pulls that ball trying to throw it glove side. Does that make sense? And it either pulls out of the zone and or it just flattens on the outer part of the plate. And then that's when guys are able to get extended on it and hit home runs off of him, which the home run ball was the issue for him. So the key to him, I think the thing to watch in spring training for him, of course, the 102's there, the 4 pitches are there, all the change ups and the sliders and curveballs, they're all there. We all know that. Watch the glove side, control first, and then see if he can graduate to command, meaning control, hey, can we throw a strike to the glove side? And then command, can we actually hit a spot to the glove side? If he can get to where he can command the glove side, nobody on earth is going to be able to hit him.
And, I'm gonna kind of take it a step further. I'm going to say I don't know necessarily where he lines up on the mound. And I know that this is going to sound very T-ballish. It's going to sound very, first year. If he lines up in the middle, I think that if he scoots to that outside part of the plate, it's gonna be a lot easier to hit that outside fastball.
Yeah.
With controlling that glove side, I get it. Especially if you're trying to throw an outside fastball, if you're lined up, either middle or on the inside part of the rubber, I can see having to pull across your body. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where he lines up. If he lines up on the outside and he's still having trouble with that, I don't know if that's going to make a difference. But if he changes his location on the rubber, I wonder if you'll see a difference there. I wonder if you'll still see him pulling his body.
Yep. I think that, he has natural arm side movement. I think if he just threw 98-mile-an-hour fastballs to the arm side and threw changeups, he could get more outs than he ever wanted. I think he's used the minor leagues to try to control, the other part of that, the glove side part of it. So that's interesting for me to something to watch whenever he pitches this year, not just to watch the big stuff. Another guy I wanted to get to, landonknack. Okay, this is a young man he's always been one of the top prospects in the Dodgers organization, 4+ pitches. Like he'll put it, hey, when the changeup's landing, it's going to be a tough night for the hitters. But going all the way back to high school, he tore his labrum, diving back into a base. He wasn't healthy at all last year. It's been stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. Can landonknack finally get a runway of health this year where he can showcase those 4 pitches? And, if he does, he's been projected as a solid probably number 4 starter at the major league level.
Yeah, man, and I hope for his sake, and I mean even for Dodgers' sake, I hope that he can find that little streak of healthiness. Because I think if he can, he's going to. I mean, he's going to put himself up there in that category with, hey, who are we going to bring up for a Tuesday? Who are we going to bring up to fill a couple innings or give us a start or give us a spot or and it seems like the Dodgers have a lot of starters.
They do, so especially right-handed.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think that like I said, I think if he finds the streak of healthiness, I think that he has a chance to put himself in the conversation to, hey, can we bring him into LA for a little bit?
Mm-hmm. We've got plenty of time in spring training, so I think that's going to wrap up tonight's show. But there's still a whole bunch of non-roster invitees to talk about. There's still a whole bunch of prospects that are going to be on the minor league side. We talked about several of them tonight on our list. We still have guys like, to talk about, like Steven Duggar, okay, a Bradley Zimmer, a Luke Williams, a Jordan Yamamoto, a Wander Suero, guys like that. Guys like James Jones. Will he be able to find the strike zone and help the Dodgers? We're going to get to those guys next week. We're running out of time for this show. Got about 2 minutes left. Final thoughts, Chase? Final comments in the crowd?
Man, just in general, this was a really, really fun show for me. I like watching guys that are dirtbags. I like watching guys that have no fear, that have level swings. And then on top of that, I can always talk about my pitchers, man. I can always talk about those guys that weren't on the 40-man or aren't on the 40-man. That in my mind, in a pitcher's mind should be. But that's beside the point. It was a good one.
Fans, just a reminder, if you like this show and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily and specifically our podcast, Dodgers Dawgs, so Chase and I can keep providing you content like this in the future. We're getting ready to start the games, and we're going to provide you our Dodgers Daily shows that's going to recap all those games and give you some insight as far as how all those games go. So click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily and Dodgers Dawgs so we can keep growing and keep providing you content like this in the future. As always, thanks for tuning in, fans, and go Dodgers.